Well, storing a vehicle during winter, always a problem, always has been, always will be. My advice, the best advice I can give you is don't. Well, storing a vehicle during winter, always a problem, always has been, always will be. My advice, the best advice I can give you is don't. That's the thing. It's don't aim to park it up and never use it and never move it again until next April or whatever it might be. You know, you park it up in November, you don't move it till April, you're going to have sticky brakes, etc. and such like. You're not going to do it any good at all. So really, don't store it. You know, I've made this mistake myself over the years by having too many vehicles, and you park them up, and the scenario is you get a car out of storage, whatever it might be, you put a new exhaust, a new battery, you do the brakes, you get it MOT'd, you go and use it for 3 or 4 months, you put it away, 4 years later you get it out again. I know it's not winter, but 4 years later you get it out again, you do the brakes, you do the exhaust, you put a new battery on, you MOT it, and you go through it again. Not as bad through the winter, I know, but it's still not good. And I can't see the point in storing it up through the winter. I really can't. People say, well, jack them up, take the weight off the tyres and that sort of thing. Yeah, great idea. But the best thing to do really is use it sparingly, extremely sparingly, even if it's up and down the drive or up and down a road that's fairly dry, that's not gritted maybe. There's plenty of roads around, and plenty of people live on estates and what have you that are not gritted, so there's no problem in getting the vehicle out, driving it up and down the cul-de-sac or whatever it might be, just to sort of get the wheels turning, get the brakes moving, so that they don't stick up, and you'll find that it will reap benefits at the end of the day, because you haven't got all that procedure of going through it again in April before you get it out. So the answer really is continue using it through the winter, obviously very sparingly, obviously in the right conditions, and you'll find that will be the best way of keeping a car through the winter.
Is it important to clean the car for storage?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Always wash it off. Wash it off in good time, and then use it for a few days so you dry it all out, the wind dries it out and such like. Don't put it away wet, never. I mean, the old guys, you know, like my dad and the father-in-law when he was alive used to say to me, my car never went away wet. You know, they were fortunate, both of them, to have at one stage garages, and they would never, the old guys would never put a car in wet. And I'm the same. I can't park a car up wet. I've got to just quickly leather it off and such like. But yeah, a good wash before it goes in, but then do use it so it completely dries out, so it goes in completely dry. And then when I say use it, I'm not talking about every day. I'm talking about maybe once a week, once a fortnight even. Make the effort. Put the battery on one of those battery conditioner things. They're quite cheap to buy now, or at least disconnect the battery and put it on charge now and again and such like. But not every day, as I say, just maybe once a week, once a fortnight. Give it a little bit of movement just to keep things free. Well, people say this, don't they? They say, yeah, fill up the tank right to the brim so you don't condensate inside. I've never really prescribed to that, really. I'm sure scientifically that must be right, but I've never done it, so no. And at the same time, don't drain it either. But if you're going to use it, like I say, every week or a fortnight, just to do 100 yards is fine. Ideally, half a mile or a mile, but 100 yards will do. Well, that's just a matter of course, isn't it? You know, the short mileage we do, generally speaking, in classic cars means that you really should change the oil and filter more often, to be fair. You know, because they get sediment and such like, and condensation in the sump and all the rest of it. So I would change it on a very regular basis. I've heard stories, friends of mine have said, my Morris Minor, prime example, always sticks in my mind, my Morris Minor has done 225,000 miles, original engine, original gearbox. I think he said at 150,000 miles on a clutch or whatever it might be. But I look after it, and it's preventative maintenance. That's what we call it in the motor trade. You know, we have to do that with our wagons. You have to maintain them on a regular basis, whether they need it or not. So yeah, for the price of an oil and filter, massive investment, I think. You know, it's the cheapest mechanic you'll come across is oil and filter. So at the start of each season, you know, March, April, what it might be, drop the oil, put a new filter on, you're away. Check axle and gearbox. People always forget axle and gearbox. You don't need to change axle and gearbox oil as regular as you do engine oil, but at least check it. And maybe if you're going to keep a classic for some time, maybe every 3 or 4 years, drop the oil in the axle and gearbox, put some fresh in. But the most important thing is do check it, because you get a bit of a weep, you know, from a gearbox or an axle or whatever it might be, and you don't notice an awful lot, a little bit on the ground, but not a great deal, and it creeps about the outer casings and such like, so you don't notice how much is going. It's preventative. You know, you don't want to be driving down the road and wind up with a noise from the diff or something like that, all because of low oil. Yeah, always leave the windows down an inch or something on that sort of line, definitely. Let a bit of air inside and such like. I've got mixed feelings about covering them over. I can't make my mind up. You've got to be very careful how you cover a vehicle over. If you do, most definitely buy one of those breathable sheets that ventilates the whole body as well, full stop. You know, don't go down to the charity shop and buy a couple of bedspreads and stuff like that and chuck them over. You'll encourage micro blistering, so don't do that. You know, if you're not going to cover it with a proper sheet, and be careful how you do that as well, then don't cover it at all. Obviously regular wax oil, without a doubt, but everyone knows that anyway. I mean, never use underseal. Don't ever use underseal. That's old-fashioned, outdated. It was only really invented to hide a multitude of sins. Wax oil's the answer, because it creeps and it eats into the metal and such like. So yeah, wax oil, quick whip over maybe once a year or once every couple of years. Old oil, again, brilliant. We have a Stag in our collection that I've oiled from the day I got it. Drilled the doors, drilled the seals, filled them up with engine oil, let it run out a little bit or drip out a bit outside in the backyard and whatever, or put some covers down and catch it. And that again creeps nicely inside the panels. Very important to do that. I would, you know, if you intend, the car you bought is lovely and immaculate, and you intend keeping it like that, want to buy it for a good number of years, my advice is do that. Zybark people used to do it, you know, drill the panels and fill them up with wax oil. Zybark's only wax oil, it's no secret formula. Oil's just as good, because it creeps, as simple as that. And oil over the suspension and bits and pieces. I know people disagree with me about eating the rubbers and that sort of thing, but it don't if you're careful. So definitely, if you're going to keep it, drill the doors, drill the seals, drill the A and B posts, and drop engine oil down. Yeah, well, there's a few tips that, in my opinion, you should follow during winter storage. But above all else, use it. If you don't intend using it, then at least do what I just said. But the best advice I can give you is very, very sparingly use it. Don't take it out on salty roads. We know that's obvious. But as I said, there's plenty of use you can get out of it, keeping off salty roads, or just a minimum of 100 or 2 yards. So basically, don't stop using it.